Mr. Straarup joins us live from Copenhagen. Thank you so much for joining us today live on the program. Is it going to get much worse before it gets better? I know you've had the surprise loss and also you've had to, of course, deal with these cost cuts and job losses. Are you eventually thinking that you'll have to cut more jobs, or are you over the worst?
Well, I don't know if we are over the worst. I think all banks had a terrible third quarter. The reason that our third quarter performed badly was that our trading earnings were down compared to what they would normally be in a quarter. Our life insurance company had mark-to-market adjustments, and impairment charges are still relatively high. This cost program that we have announced is a 3-year program. It should take 10% cost out of the bank. That's what we deem possible to carry through at this point in time without hampering the franchise.
But is there any evidence? Sir, is there any evidence that actually the trend will improve from here until the end of the year, or is it still going to be very difficult in terms of trading conditions?
Well, the trading conditions, I suppose, haven't eased up. It's a bit better in this month, but they have not returned to any kind of normalcy. I think the low growth rate that we are seeing also will have an impact. We are forecasting perhaps a little bit higher impairment charges, but it's not going to be as bad as it was in 2010. But I think all banks have difficult trading conditions at this point in time. For Danske Bank, it's a benefit that we have a very strong capital ratio. 11.5, we just got announced in the EBA stress test. We have strong liquidity. So we have the platform to weather this. But I can't rule out that the fourth quarter and the first quarter 2012 will be difficult quarters for the industry.
And so do you need bolder actions from the European Union? What needs to change for you to be a little bit more confident about the future? Do we need more write-downs? Do we need Greece to put all its troubles behind? What is the one thing that keeps you up at night?
Well, I suppose the fact that sovereign risk is viewed with such animosity and with such little risk appetite is the core of the problem. And I suppose EU politicians have to bring about a structure and a policy that makes the market believe that the sovereign risk is contained and that we will not see contagion from one country to the next. How that medicine is going to be diagnosed and prescribed, I can't tell you.
And so what must happen in Cannes? This is where the G20 finance ministers are meeting later this week. What can they do to actually, I guess, boost banks or boost the credibility of the banks, or at least boost the credibility of European leaders, which so far has been quite dire?
Well, it comes back to having a credible reaction to the sovereign debt crisis, make sure that the market believes that it will not spread to other countries, contain Greece, and make sure that Italy is not in the market's limelight with a critical view. And many of these things are obviously for domestic politicians to handle. There's a big list that Europe could attend to, and I'm sure that the meeting in Japan would focus on that also.
Now, the Prime Minister of Greece, Papandreou, is putting, of course, this bailout to referendum. We found out this today. If they're going to default, what would that mean for Danske Bank?
Not much. We don't have any Greek paper. We do not have very much PIX paper to begin with. All our PIX paper is marked to market. So we are more a spectator. Of course, it's a big surprise to the market that the Greek Prime Minister is taking this action. But for Danske Bank, we're not at the center of events.
And Mr. Straarup, you also said today that you will, of course, retire. How will you choose your successor? Is there anyone in line, or what kind of qualities are you looking in a man to become your successor?
Well, it's for the board to decide. I've turned 60. I've reached my retirement age, and for that reason, I stepped down. The board is putting in process a activity in order to identify my successor. It's a job that should be handled solely by the board, not by the outgoing CEO. So I can't comment on what kind of competencies.
And what would be your number one advice to him or her, the person who takes over from you?
I think I'll do that in the privacy of an office and not on live television.
All right, and we respect that privacy, of course. Mr. Straarup, thank you so much. The Chief Executive there of Danske Bank.